Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to the Ready to Bloom podcast, which features interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, without further ado, I'll hand you over to your host, Holly Worton.
Hello and welcome to the Ready to Bloom podcast, episode 99. This is your host, Holly Worton. I'm here with today's special guest, Natalia, also known as the website superhero. Natalia designs and develops bold websites for world changers so they can make a bigger impact, and she teaches entrepreneurs how to keep their website glitch-free and protect it from breaking or getting hacked, all super easily and with some cat jokes thrown in. I love cat jokes. So welcome, Natalia. I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
I love it because I feel like you're one of those people that, really gets the whole building websites for, women solopreneurs and, as you call them, world changers. And you're really flexible. I feel like you really kind of get to what people want and what people need rather than just saying, this is what I do, cookie cutter design, you take it. This is what you need, just deal with it. So I really, really like that. So I'm very excited to have you on the show today. So
awesome.
Yeah. So why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about your background and your business journey and how you got to where you are today with your business?
Sure. I actually started out as a writer, and I wanted to make myself more competitive in the market. So I took a couple of coding courses, and I was like, oh, wow, this is really fun. I didn't think that it would be. And for many years, I actually kind of assumed that I wasn't smart enough for it, which I think is just probably related to growing up as a woman and being scared of math and all of those things, right?
Yeah.
And then I started taking those classes, and I was like, this is actually easy, and it's really fun. Whenever I would learn how to change a color or something, I would just start giggling. I was so happy. So about 6 months after that, I decided I wanted to create a business, and about 6 months after that, I went full time.
Wow. Okay. So there's a kind of gradual transition from your copywriting or your writing to the website business.
Yeah, I've been writing and copy editing for 11 years, and I had gotten a little bored of it because it wasn't challenging. And something that's wonderful about web development especially is that you never stop learning. There's always new programs, new technologies, new tricks. So that always keeps my interest peaked, which is really important for me. It keeps me stimulated.
That's actually a really good point. The fact that you've constantly got to stay on top of the technology and how that's really stimulating for you. I'm also very much addicted to learning. And so my previous business that was in social media was great because I was always learning about new social media stuff because it's always changing. So that's actually a really good point for women who are maybe starting out in their business and they know that they have that really deep desire to learn so that they can, maybe focus on something that's always changing and always evolving and focus on something like that rather than something that's kind of stagnant and been the same forever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there, I don't know, maybe I could have switched to different kinds of writing, but it's different. It's more challenging. And I had to learn it from scratch. Yeah. Which was also, I don't know, exciting.
And how did you find the transition of, writing is kind of a very creative process. And of course, copy editing is kind of more technical. So how did you find that switch from such kind of a creative and technical thing to code, which is, I guess, probably also creative and technical, but on it's a very different kind of language. So how did you find that transition?
Yeah, it actually is pretty creative. You have to do a lot of problem solving and critical thinking and finding solutions. And sometimes it's just, it's very similar to writing. It's just they're different languages, So, and you can, if you want to get poetic about it, you can say, you tell stories in code, you can say things like that. But I really don't think they're that different.
Yeah. Yeah, actually that makes sense. I think, was it Matt Mullenweg or somewhere on his business or on his website or something used to say that code is poetry.
Yeah.
So what were some of the biggest challenges that you experienced when you were making this business change and growing your new business?
Well, I was, unlike other people, or unlike, I guess it depends, but I was at a relative disadvantage because I was learning the craft.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was also learning how to build a business.
Yeah. You had a lot of learning to do at once.
Yes, yes. And I was actually like, somebody had suggested originally, like, oh, why don't you start your own business? And I was like, lol, like, what? No, I don't know how to do that. What's the first thing about building a business? How do I get clients? What goes on a professional website? I had no idea. And then I found B School,
Mm-hmm.
and I took that. And then what changed everything was finding people who could guide me, finding a business coach, right? Finding a support network, and also learning just the rules of, what converts on a website, what doesn't convert, things like list building, which I didn't know anything about. So just the basics
Mm-hmm.
of building an online business, and then the support network.
Yeah, I've heard great things about the support network of B School.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the content itself, what I learned was very generic and vague, and that wasn't too helpful. But once I hired a couple of coaches one-on-one, that's when I was able to really take off.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So would you say that there was a tipping point in your business where things went from kind of struggle with all of that learning to flow?
Yeah, it was about a little over a year in, I think. Before maybe a year in. So I was still part-time. No, I was full-time, maybe like 8 months full-time at that time. And I had a marketing coach, and then I also had another coach who was a success coach. So I was working on fears, busting through blocks, and doing a lot more marketing. So those two things combined really allowed my business to bloom.
I like that. So you're doing kind of the practical coaching on one side and the inner coaching on another side.
Yeah, I really needed both.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do, because a lot of times, once we get that basic business knowledge and the business coaching, oftentimes it's the inner stuff that's holding us back.
Oh, yeah. Comparisonitis. Or like, can I really do this? Or I had issues around deserving.
Yes. Do I deserve to make money for this thing that I do?
Exactly. Yeah. So I just needed, I did NLP on that with that coach. That was really interesting and helpful.
Okay, that's good to know. And so it was like a combination of coaching and NLP?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing today in your business, because you do some website design, but you're also creating new programs.
Yes, that's right. So I create custom websites. I really have a mini agency going. I'm the web developer, and I do some web design, and then I have graphic designers who will do things like logos and the visual branding and things like that. And then I also have a course that I have launched twice already, and I'm about to launch for a third time, and it's called the DIY website maintenance course. And that's for people who already have a WordPress website and want to learn how to take care of it so it doesn't break or disappear or get hacked. And it's so they can do it themselves, or they can hand it off to their VA so that they know that they have someone who knows what they're doing.
Right. So do you think that this is a big issue for a lot of people, that they don't know how to maintain their website?
Absolutely. It really is. And I think a lot of people they don't know what they don't know when it comes to website maintenance. They don't know they're supposed to maintain it. I had a couple of clients who they wanted me to redesign their website. So they hire me, I go into their website, and it's a complete mess. They have like 20 updates to do. They have literally 9,000 spam comments.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the website is super slow to load. There are all these issues. So now I've learned, and I always log into a website before like giving a full quote, because we had to deal with that.
Yeah.
We had to fix that. And it's easy to fix. I mean, some people get intimidated and think it's going to be difficult, but I understand that. And I didn't start learning this so long ago, so I still remember what it was like, and I really do my best to do things step by step and explain them very slowly. And I've gotten excellent feedback. That's always like, I I hesitated because I thought this was going to be scary, but it was super easy to follow.
Oh, that's really good.
And yeah, and if I can throw in a cat joke or a dog joke or just or a pigeon joke or some animal joke or something, I will do that.
Good. So what are the kinds of things that people need to maintain on a WordPress website that maybe they're not aware of?
They need to keep everything updated.
Okay.
Of course. But the thing with updates is, well, first it's important to update because many of them include security patches, which means that they help keep hackers out of your website. Because a lot of times hackers will find a way into a program and then the developers will be like, okay, we're going to launch, the 2.0 version that doesn't let the hackers in, for example.
Yeah.
Something else is that a lot of times you will update a couple of plugins, and this happens, the more plugins you have, the more likely this is to happen, that something will conflict and move around on the page, or your contact form will stop working or something. And so it's very important to do updates on a testing environment or a test site, which a lot of people don't know or don't know how to do. And that is something that I do teach in my course.
Oh, okay. That's great. And what do you say to people who think, oh, well, I've just got a small little business. Hackers won't target my website. They won't be interested in me. How do you approach that with them? Because I think a lot of people would never imagine that they might get hacked because they think they're so low on the radar because they're just getting started. So what's your advice to someone like that?
Interesting. Yeah. Well, they don't just target big names. They target WordPress websites are targeted disproportionately. Part of the reason is that they are so popular. Something like 70% of websites on the internet run on WordPress. Just an incredible amount. And this means that people know how the program works, and a lot of hackers have ended up targeting it. So several times a year, you're going to see articles about brute force attacks on WordPress websites. And that's just in general. So it doesn't matter whether it's a famous website or not.
Okay. And so why, this is probably getting a bit off topic, but just to help people understand, why are people hacking websites in the first place? Just for fun, so that it's a challenge so that they can do it? Or what's their motivation, do you think?
That is such an excellent question. And I think that there are different reasons. You have, your garden variety teenage idiots that are bored in basements who just want to wreak havoc. Then you have people who want to insert code into your website so that they will be taken. People who go to your website end up on a porn site, for example. Right? So often it's for advertising reasons. Sometimes they take your website hostage and then they want to sell it back to you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, super nice. Yeah, so there are different types of motivation, I guess.
I think that's a good thing for people to understand because, again, if people are thinking, oh, I'll never be targeted, you never know, because if someone's just playing around and trying to have some fun, you might have problems.
In December, I was taking a branding course, and on the first day of our course, the teacher's website got hacked.
Oh.
Yeah, so there was a lot of drama on her end, poor woman. And I was watching one of her training videos, and I saw she had like 11 updates to do. And I was like, sweetie, no wonder.
Oh.
That's what happens. Like if you just, and it's easy, you can employ security measures, like for example, installing and setting up a security plugin like Wordfence. That goes a very, very long way to keeping hackers away and your website safe. So no porn ads for you if you do that. And keeping things updated, like those are two things that you can do that will go an extremely long way to protecting you.
Good. All right. And so what are some of the kind of big website horror stories that you've encountered with clients as far as people who have not maintained and updated their website?
Well, there's, the porn code. Just a website that's really, really slow that will get blacklisted in Google.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I think that's something that a lot of people might not be aware of. If your website is really, really slow, then Google will assume that it's just so antiquated they shouldn't show it.
Well, actually, when your website gets hacked, when you clean it up, you have to make sure that you go into your Google Webmaster Tools and make sure that it's not blacklisted, because Google will blacklist websites that are hacked.
Oh, okay.
Also,
right.
so that's something else you would have to deal with.
Okay.
So yeah, website maintenance can avoid so many headaches. And it's one of those things that you're like, oh, I'll be fine. And then it happens. And you want to tear your hair out. And at this point, I think it's happening more and more.
Really?
Like, I have that plugin that I mentioned, Wordfence, on all my websites. Mm-hmm. And I get emails pretty much every day notifying me of people trying to log in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing. I never knew before I installed Wordfence on my previous website. I never knew that so many people were trying to access my website until I got that. And then I started kind of blacklisting countries and not letting people log in from certain countries and parts of the world. But it was like, oh my God, I had no idea. Wordfence is fabulous.
It's amazing. Yeah. Even the free version is super powerful.
Yeah, I started out with the free version and then I upgraded because I figured if it's giving me this much information, I think I need to get extra protection.
Yeah, and it's $39 a year. That's a really good price too.
So could you, since we're on the conversation of Wordfence, could you explain to people a little bit about what that does?
Yeah, absolutely. It helps keep hackers out in a variety of ways. And something I wanted to mention too, something very easy to do is to not use admin as your username.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's always what they try first. And if your username is admin, you've made it 50% easier for them to get into your site because they only have to guess your password.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't even use my real name as my login. I use something completely different.
Yeah. I add numbers.
Oh, that's good. I'm making note of that.
Yeah, and I actually have a blog post, a video tutorial explaining how to get rid of the admin username. Mm-hmm. So I can give you a link to that if you'd like to share that.
That would be really great.
Yeah, because you want to make sure that you don't lose your content.
Yes.
When you're switching to a new user.
Create the new user first.
Yeah. Wordfence will do things like block people if they try to log in a certain amount of times, in a minute or something. The plugin also knows, it can differentiate between software trying to log in and a person because of how many times the software might try to log in a specified amount of time. Mm-hmm. That's just humanly impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone to track. Yeah, it'll do certain things like that. It'll let you know the IPs of the people trying to log in so that you can block them permanently. Mm-hmm. And it tells you what countries they're coming from, which allowed you to block visitors from certain countries. Yeah, I got a lot from the Ukraine.
Some bored young people there needing to hack things.
Yeah, I mean, it could also be somebody, in the U.S. spoofing their IP and making it seem like they're in Europe or whatever. You never know. Yeah. But it's whatever the reason, you don't want them to get in. So.
Exactly. So we've talked a little bit about this already, but what would you say are your top tips on how to maintain your own WordPress website?
To keep a WordPress website glitch-free and working for you, I would suggest that one, set up regular automated backups and also know how to restore them. So in other words, backups are copies of your full website that you can go back to and restore anytime to bring your website back to life if something goes wrong. Mm-hmm. For example, if it breaks while you're making changes to it, or if there's a problem with your server, with your hosting, and they lose your website. That happens. I've heard of people just like, oops, and they didn't have a backup either.
Oh God, I've never heard of that. That's terrible. Yeah. That's another thing people need to be thinking about. Oh my God. Yeah, backups are so important.
Yeah, and knowing how to restore them too. Yeah. Otherwise they're kind of useless.
How do you back up your websites, or how do you recommend that people back them up?
I recommend a plugin called Backup Buddy.
Okay, I've heard of that.
It allows you to bring your website back to life in minutes.
Oh, okay. So,
I actually teach how to use that in my course because I love it so much. I think it's the best system around and it's super comprehensive.
Oh, good. And is that, I assume that's a paid plugin?
Yeah, it's a premium plugin. Mm-hmm. Totally worth it though.
Okay, perfect. I'm making note of that for the show notes. All right. So What are your other top tips on how to keep your WordPress website glitch-free?
Since I don't want to give like 15,
Yeah.
I would say the first one would be the regular automated backups. So they happen every night in your sleep. You don't have to worry about them anymore. And they get delivered to Dropbox or Google Drive or wherever you want. The second tip would be to keep everything updated, partly because of the security issue that I mentioned. And also because when you don't update, let's say that you have 10 updates to do or even 5, and you have other things that are, well, new or old, it's just more likely that there will be conflicts and things won't work. Things will get glitchy.
So when you say to keep everything updated, what does that mean?
Good question.
Because I'm thinking WordPress and plugins, but maybe there's something else I'm not doing.
Oh, and themes. That would be the other one.
Yes, okay. So,
yeah, just those.
So themes, WordPress itself, and then the plugins. Yeah. Okay. And what would you recommend for someone who maybe hasn't updated anything in a long time and they go into the website after listening to this episode and they realize, oh my God, I've got so many updates to do. Where do you start? Like, what's the best way to start so that you don't break everything?
You always want to start with a backup.
Good. Okay.
First, do a backup before any updates. And if you have a lot of updates to do, I would absolutely do them on a test site.
Okay.
I mean, I would always do them, but especially if you have a lot, because the chances of something going wrong are a lot higher.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. So could you tell people a little bit more about what a test site is in case anyone doesn't know what that is?
Definitely. Yeah. I'm not sure how helpful it will be to someone who doesn't know what I'm talking about if I can't show it on a screen.
Right.
But what you would do is you would create a subdomain or another domain and then put a copy of your website, a backup, on that subdomain. And that can be your test site. So that's basically your website that you can work on and nobody can see it, right?
Right.
Because it could be on a subdomain like, test.website-superhero.com or whatever. So that's basically a safe environment for you to, if you want to change up your colors or, add some new tools and see what they look like, or just for doing your updates, just so that your live website does not get affected if something goes wrong.
Right. So it's kind of like a sandbox where you can play around and mess things up and it won't have an effect on your regular website.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. All right. So what's your top tip number 3?
The security measures.
Okay. So let's talk security.
Yeah. So just installing and setting up a security plugin like Wordfence goes a very, very long way. Or you can purchase a service like Sucuri.
What's
which
that?
Is separate. Sucuri. Sucuri.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
That's an external service that you pay for yearly.
Okay. And they just take care of all the security themselves, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And Sucuri is actually where you want to go if your website does get hacked, and they will clean it up.
Oh, okay. So if your website gets hacked, instead of running around like a chicken with your head off, you can hire Sucuri and they will just clean it all up and fix everything for you?
Yeah.
Ooh, fabulous. And how much does that cost? Do you have any idea? Is that crazy expensive?
They increased the price. I think it's $100 or $200 a year now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got to be signed up to their service anyway in order to get that.
Yeah, some people, get hacked and then they go, Sucuri, help me. And
okay.
and then Sucuri helps them.
Okay, right. And then they sign up for their service.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's really, really good to know, because I think a lot of people have such kind of basic knowledge of WordPress that they can handle it and possibly maintain it, but to deal with a major issue like hacking, I think that's really scary for a lot of people.
Yeah. Hackers will insert code in many places throughout your website, so you really need to go in and get a pro to clean it up and check everything. Whether it's Sucuri or a web developer, leave it up to a pro. Because hacking is serious business.
Great. Okay. So, anything else you'd like to say about how to keep your WordPress website glitch-free and working for you?
Well, website maintenance is super important. I go further into the 3 points that I mentioned: backups, updates, and security in my 3-step video training.
Okay.
I believe Holly will have a link to it on her website, right, Holly?
Yes, I will.
Awesome.
So we'll put that in the show notes so that people can download that. But that's great because then everyone will be able to see what we're talking about.
Yes. So I go into that and into what else you should be doing and when, how often throughout the year to keep everything in check. Yes.
Okay. That's also really important because I think a lot of people think, all right, so I made a backup today. That's
it.
But you're changing your website constantly. I mean, if you're adding new blog posts and new content and tweaking things and, a WordPress website is such a living creature.
Yeah, it's a living creature.
It's always changing. So actually, as I say this, I don't remember how often I'm doing backups, whether it's daily, weekly, or whatever, but it's definitely worth looking at.
Yeah, I blog weekly and I do full backups weekly and daily database backups.
Okay, that's good.
And the database will have things like your blog posts in them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. So tell us a little bit about how other women in business can benefit from working with you, whether it's learning more about website maintenance or getting a new website done.
Sure. So I have the 3-step video training, which then leads to the course if people would like to buy that. And then I create custom websites for people. I mostly have been working with women, only with women, really. Mm-hmm. I'm really happy about that. And actually, my favorite part of my job is when we get on Skype.
Skype is fun.
I love getting to know their stories.
Yeah.
So for women who are just starting out and it's their first website, or women who've been around for a few years and they really want to up their game. Mm-hmm. And then I also have rescue sessions. So for people who want to DIY their website or they are planning a course and they just want to know, okay, what software is best for my needs and how do I plan this website? How do I structure it? Things like that, that would be a rescue session. That's just 1 hour that we get on the phone and I basically solve their problem so they can move forward.
Okay, so they kind of come to you with their problem, pick your brain, and then go home and do the stuff that they need to do.
Exactly.
Good. That's really, really useful. I mean, I think so many times it's like, you're struggling to answer a question online and you're Googling the answers and you kind of find the answer, but it's not quite right. That's really useful to be able to call someone and get the answers you need for your website.
There are so many variables.
I know.
Often it's just impossible to know, and you need someone who's been around for a while and worked with a lot of websites and has seen different scenarios play out, right?
Mm-hmm. And seen different disasters played out.
Yeah, and I have a lot of people who come to me just for tweaks and for fixes as well.
Great. Okay.
So they update their website, but they didn't do it on a test site and something broke, and then they call me.
Yeah, I'm going to confess I never use a test site.
You've been lucky then.
I know. And I know the test sites exist because every time I've had a website built for me, the developer always does it in a test site and shows it to me, and then we make it go live. But once it's live, I always just play around with it.
Yeah, people get busy, so that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but if you have a VA, that would be something great for them to do for you, it'll save you a lot of money.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
All right, that's good to know. All right, so so do you have any women business mentors, or are there any women in business who inspire you?
Yeah, I follow a lot of women entrepreneurs, and I look up to several in different fields. Maybe, one that I know that you have interviewed is Denise Duffield-Thomas.
I love Denise. I love her.
I know. Yeah, she is unabashedly herself. Yes. She is bold and blunt. Not to mention that what she teaches is amazing and has completely changed the way I think about money and earning.
Yes. I love her and I love her books. Yes.
Yes. Yes, her books. Absolutely. Yeah. And Holly, I've known you for how many years?
Oh my God. How long have I known you?
Like 8?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, I totally admire you for your diligence and passion and your work. You follow your heart. You explore new paths in your business. You help women from so many angles.
Thank you.
I absolutely admire you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I admire a lot of my clients. They're these soul-driven, ambitious, expansive women, crazy about helping others improve their lives, often veer healthier and just how to be happier.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are in the wellness field.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to go on?
Sure. Yeah. I'm happy to hear more. So, some people have like their top 3, and then some people are like 12. So however many you'd like to share.
Yeah, I'll share a couple more. So a former marketing coach of mine, Halley Grey, who's always sharp, working towards something, thinking of something innovative. The woman is a machine of getting cool shit done and experimenting all the time. And also goes out of her way to help people who aren't her clients even. So she's really cool and unique.
Okay. And what kind of a marketing coach is she? Like, what does she help people with?
With launching and mostly getting booked out.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, she helped me get booked out last year.
Ooh. That's always a good tip.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's cool. And have you heard of the conference Alive in Berlin?
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, this German woman, Jana Schuberth, she's a coach and she created it. She leads an amazing life. She moves every 30 days.
Oh, wow.
She's been doing this for like 10 months or something now. To me, she embodies courage. She seems to always be shining bright, like just exuding light from her pores. She's pushing herself to expand. I'm just in awe of that.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah. And then, there are others, but just, there you go.
Thank you. So where can people find you online if they want to check you out?
My website is website-superhero.com, and I'm also on Instagram at website superhero. That one is more, pictures of my dog. And
Do you know, I like that because, like, I don't use Instagram really for business stuff, but I feel like it shows people kind of the personal side of me rather than, like, the business marketing entrepreneur side of me. So it's nice to have a social network that people can follow you on, and it's social.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know, I don't really get tired of the food pics.
Yeah.
I really like the food porn. Yeah, and then I'm on Twitter, and right now my handle there is Natalia Present.
Okay.
I should probably change that. Because it was all about being present.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that years ago, and I was wondering what that's all about, and in 8 years I've never managed to ask you.
Oh, yeah, it was me just kind of, I was like, okay, it's going to be a reminder for me to be present.
Oh, I like that.
In the moment.
I like that. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for your super useful tips that I think a lot of people will be surprised probably that they didn't know some of these things about how to maintain their WordPress website and how important it is.
Oh, I'm so glad that was helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Great. And thank you for listening. And remember to visit readytobloom.com/99 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Ready to Bloom podcast with your host, Holly Worton. You can find more information about today's guests, including links for topics that were discussed at readytobloom.com. That's ready, 2, bloom.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave us a quick review of this podcast. Thank you so much.